Assalamualaikum students, welcome to the class. Hope you all are doing good. I'm your new English teacher. My name is Darakshan Dildar Malik and I shall be teaching you English literature and grammar as well. So as I go through your syllabus, I found that there are some topics जो कि 11th and 12th class के similar हैं. Grammar की बात कर रही हूँ. So today that's why I chose simple, compound and complex sentences, and this will be my mutual class for both 11th and 12th. So in today's class we'll learn all about simple, compound and complex sentences, and now in this video I will try to show you the differences between these three types of sentences, and there are also some exercises within the lesson for you to practice what you learn. So let's begin. Now, what is a simple sentence? A simple sentence is just a sentence that contains the subject and a verb. For example, I am a teacher. Here the subject is I and the verb is am. Here's another example. She took a cab to the airport. Now, can you identify the subject and the verb here? The subject is she and the verb is took. One more example. We are having pizza for dinner tonight. In this sentence, the subject is we and the verb is phrase are having. So it has two words. First, the auxiliary or helping verb, that is are, and then the main verb having. But still are having is a phrase that acts as a single verb. So in all these sentences you see that they have a subject and a verb. So these are simple sentences. And there's also another name for simple sentences, and that is an independent clause. This means more or less the same thing as a simple sentence, but just remember that this is another name for a simple sentence. So this was all about simple sentences. Hope it's all clear to you. Now let's move to compound sentences. So what is a compound sentence? Well, a compound sentence is just a sentence that has two independent clauses. We saw that a simple sentence has just one clause, but a compound sentence has two or sometimes more independent clauses. Take a look at this example. I am a teacher. My wife is a lawyer. So what we have here is two separate independent clauses or simple sentences. And the problem with this is that it sounds choppy and disconnected when we say it like that. I am a teacher, my wife is a lawyer. Instead, we can combine them like this. I am a teacher and my wife is a lawyer. This sounds much better. And now we have one compound sentence with the two independent clauses and is connected by conjunction and. So here is another example. She tried to lift the suitcase. The suitcase was too heavy. We can combine these clauses using but. She tried to lift the suitcase, but it was too heavy. Notice that we have the word it in the second part. Now it is a pronoun that just refers to the suitcase. It makes the sentence sound better by avoiding repetition. So next example, he didn't have enough cash. He paid by credit card. We can connect these clauses by using so. He didn't have enough cash, so he paid by credit card. One last example, we can take a bus to the museum. We can just walk there. What we see here is two objects, two different ways to get to the museum. We can connect these using or. We can take a bus to the museum or we can just walk there. Now, the connecting words that you see in these examples are and, but, or, so. Are all called coordinating conjunctions. So that's a fancy word, but it just means that these are connecting words that connect two independent clauses. And there is another important point here. You see that in all of the examples, when we connect the two independent clauses, we put a comma as you can see in the examples, in the visual as well, we put a comma after the first clause. Now this is the proper form. You write the first independent clause and then you put a comma after that, and then a conjunction, and later you write a second clause. So remember this rule always. Okay, we are going to practice this now. You see 5 items on the screen. In each one, I want you to combine the simple sentences into compound sentences, into one compound sentences actually. Use a coordinating conjunction as well, like and, but, or, so, to make a compound sentence. So now you will stop the video, try the exercise, and then play the video again and then check your answers. Okay, let's discuss them. Number 1, she dropped her phone on the floor. It broke. Now I write it this way. She dropped her phone on the floor and it broke. You just combine 2 simple sentences into one compound sentence. Number 2, I'm not very hungry, so I'll just have an orange juice. 3, you should study harder or you will fail the exam. 4, we would like to buy a car, but we can't afford it right now. We can't afford one right now, sorry. 5 is a little tricky because there are 3 simple sentences or 3 independent clauses, but we can connect them using coordinating conjunctions, as I told you. I told my roommate to turn down the TV, but he didn't. So I got up and left. Now I hope you might have got all the right. How many did you get? Okay. Let's now move on and talk about something about complex sentences. Here is a clause first. When I got home from work yesterday. What do you notice about it? Well, it has a subject, I, and a verb, got. But this clause is just not a complete sentence, and that's because if I say to you, when I got home from work yesterday, you will ask, okay, what happened? What did you do? So you see, this thought is not complete. So this is not an independent clause. This type of clause is called a dependent clause. To make it a complete sentence, you have to add an independent clause to it. For example, when I got home from work yesterday, I watched TV for an hour. So you see, there is a dependent and independent clause. Now it's a complete sentence, we can say, and this type of sentence is called a complex sentence. So here are some more examples. But before I talk about them in each one, I want you to identify the dependent and independent clause. For that, you need to stop the video and try the exercise, play the video again, and then continue. Alright, in number 2, I love to travel is the independent clause, and because I get to meet a lot of interesting people is a dependent clause. Now in sentence number 1, we saw that the dependent clause came at first place, and here in number 2 the dependent clause comes at second place, but that's okay. In complex sentences you can put the clauses in any order, that's no problem. Alright, number 3, even though the exam was quite difficult is a dependent clause, and all the students passed is an independent clause. In number 4 sentence, let me know is independent, and if you need any help is dependent. And finally number 5, you can't go out and play is the independent clause, and until you have finished your homework is the dependent clause. Just remember that to decide whether the clause is dependent or independent, you ask the question, can this clause be a complete sentence on its own? If it is, or if it can be a complete sentence, then it's an independent clause. Remember that. and if it cannot be a complete sentence, then it is a dependent clause. Now, in all of these examples, you see the dependent clauses start with a linking verb, like when, because, even though, if, and until. These words are conjunctions, but they are also called subordinating conjunctions. The dependent clause are also called subordinate clauses. It means the same thing. So the conjunctions are subordinating conjunctions, and if you remember from the previous section, we connected independent clauses using coordinating conjunctions, and here we are using subordinating conjunctions. There is one more thing I want you to notice here, is that that is the use of commas. In sentences 1 and 3, you see there is a comma, but in sentences 2, 4 and 5, there is no comma. And this is because in 1 and 3, the dependent clause comes first. And if it comes first, we put a comma after it. And then we write the independent clause. But in 2, 4 and 5 sentence, an independent clause comes first. And if that is the case, we won't put a comma after it. I hope you all got these simple, compound and complex sentences. I wish you all the best for this. So there is another type of dependent clause that you need to know about it, and that is relative clause, and that will be my next class. Till then, I wish you all the best, and Assalamu alaikum.